One.
Oh, sorry.
Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky was born on November 7th of 1879 in Yanovka, Ukraine, Russian Empire, and died on August 21st, 1940 in Coyoacan, Mexico. He was the leader of Russia's revolution and later was in charge of the foreign affairs and of the War of Russia from 1917 to 1924. He was also in a power struggle with Joseph Stalin after the death of Vladimir Lenin. In 1897, Leon Trotsky assisted in forming the South Russian Workers' Union. Almost a year later, he was arrested alongside more than 200 members of the union. In 1902, after serving 2 years of his sentence, he had escaped prison to travel to London, England, and joined the Russian Socialist Democratic Party and worked alongside Vladimir Lenin on a profound newspaper called Iskra. During the beginning of the First World War, Trotsky joined the group of Russian Social Democrats who went against the idea of the war in the Tsarist regime and didn't support it. Finally, in 1917, he reached New York, which officially began his contribution to the Russian Revolution.
Once he came to New York, Leon Trotsky assisted fellow Bolshevik theologian Nikolai Bukharin in editing a Russian paper, which was titled Navy Mir, which is translated to New World. In mid-May of 1917, Leon reached Petrograd and immediately took on the duty of leading the left-wing side of Menshevik Party. Trotsky was ultimately put in jail during the earlier days of July while being part of Bolshevik leadership, which was led by Alexander Kerensky. After jail, he was released from prison in September and shortly afterward was elected from chairman of the Petrograd Soviet of Workers and Soldiers Deputies. Trotsky assumed the lead role in managing the countermeasures for Soviets during a powerless government raid. He had also assured the citizens of the time that the Military Revolutionary Committee was there to only defend the Congress of Soviets and nothing else. As predicted, the government was starting to fail, and Petrograd was mostly in the watch of Bolsheviks' party. Soon after this, Trotsky resumed his position as working as a military leader during the revolution, and ultimately defeating any efforts made by Kerensky made of the Battle of Pulkovo in November 13th of that year.
Timeline. Then Trotsky joined Vladimir Lenin in shutting down any attempts at making a coalition government. Leon Trotsky's first role in the new Soviet government was the position of the foreign ministers, where he proposed peace with Germany. Soon after, the two nations were in discussions about peacemaking, but later changed the topic into propaganda. Sometime after, they went against Germany's annexation words, and it was all chaos. Amid the chaos was when Leon Trotsky proposed a formula called "No War, No Peace." The Central Bolshevik Committee was forced to make a decision when Germany resumed their defense in the middle of February. However, Trotsky and his believers refrained from voting, and the German terms were accepted. The Red Army. After peace was made, he left his position and was made the Commission of War and began creating a new army called the Red Army. The Red Army was created to protect the new communist government against the threats of civil war and threats from foreign countries. It was consisted of the old Russian army, but smaller and with more discipline. When Trotsky created this army, he was faced with backlash as many people did not like the fact that he had enlisted former military specialists and made them work under the supervision of communist military commissioners. Despite the many complaints he received from everyone, including Joseph Stalin, they were all proven wrong when the Red Army turned back attacks by the anti-communist White Army in 1918 and 1919.
His rivalry Stalin. In 1992, Lenin was struck with a hemorrhage, who started the talks about Russia's succession. Many people were considering Leon Trotsky because of the charismatic qualities, but many were jealous and picked Grigory Zinoviev, Lev Kamenev, and Stalin. In 1992, Lenin recovered a bit and had characterized Trotsky as exceptional abilities, but too far-reaching self-confidence and disposition, too much attracted by the purely administrative side of affairs. Lenin suggested to attack Stalin, but Trotsky declined and was trying to ally himself with Zinoviev. While Stalin was getting a foothold in politics. By fall, Trotsky got a big setbacks by having many people accuse him and get a propaganda attack. At a critical moment, Trotsky fell ill and lost the campaign to Stalin. Afterwards, Lenin died. His unfortunate death. Trotsky was attacked left, right, and center after he couldn't make it to Lenin's funeral and left Stalin to steal the show. Later, Trotsky and Zinoviev was expelled out of the party, and his followers were exiled to random places. After they were exiled, Trotsky tried to bring back a revolutionary army by moving to different countries, but they ultimately failed. He ended up in Mexico because he was getting chased by them and was also in attack, but they failed. In the end, a Spanish communist ended his life with the ice pick. And a video. Whoops. Yeah, and that's it. Oh, and citations.
Okay, I can't mark them on screen because I can't see them. So I need you guys to bring in your works cited on Monday.
Okay.
Typed up. And I think you may have made some mistakes with the dates, Sudharsan. It certainly wasn't 1992, which you said a couple of times, right? Maybe 1922?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, you can press stop presenting. Okay, so I've got to do attendance on Trillium, but once again, attendance doesn't add up. So let's try this again. Sarah, are you here?
Yes, miss, I'm here.
Where? I don't see you. Are you on camera?
Now I am.
Wave. Okay.
Can you see?
Now I can.
Okay.
I can see something. No, you need to keep your camera on, Sarah. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone has to turn their cameras on. Right now, there are 14 cameras and there are 22 people in this class. Turn your cameras on. I don't want to have to go through this every time. Okay, I'm going to enter attendance in Trillium. Just give me a minute. All right, guys, let's take up chapter 5. Make sure you're taking notes. Okay, number 1. What accusations did Clover bring against Molly? Chelsea?
Clover accused Molly of looking over the hedges that divided Animal Farm from Foxwood, where Molly was talking to one of Mr. Pillington's men, and she allowed him to stroke her nose.
Very good. Number 2. What happened to Molly after her disappearance? Jasmine?
After her disappearance, Molly was seen on the other side of Willingdon, and she was between the shafts of a smart dog cart standing outside of a public house. A fat, red-faced man in cheek breeches and gaiters was stroking her nose and feeding her with sugar. And then the animals never spoke of her again.
Very good. They also noticed that her coat was newly clipped. She was wearing a red ribbon around her forelock. And that man who was stroking her nose was a farmer. So Molly represents the selfish people in Russia, or what, Stalin thought of as the selfish people in Russia who didn't care about the revolution. Okay. And many of them left Russia and went to other democratic countries in Western Europe. In their agreements, both Napoleon and Snowball attempt to gain support. I think it's supposed to be disagreements. How do they do this? So how does Snowball attempt to gain support? Kian?
They do it by making the other animals vote. They do it by making the other animals vote.
No. How does he attempt to get the support of the other animals? How does he attempt to get their vote?
Wait, what question is this? Which number?
Kian, pay attention.
Sorry, miss.
Come on.
Oh,
You're supposed to be looking at your questions when we're taking them up.
yeah, I kind of got mixed up.
Well, this is question 3.
Oh, okay, that's what I put. I think I got confused.
Okay. Did you answer these questions?
Yeah, but I'm not too confident with my answers.
Yeah, but I'm going to be calling you, so you better get ready to answer.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes. All right, Amy. Snowball, how did he get support?
Wasn't it with his brilliant speeches?
Yes, very good. And who does Snowball represent in the Russian Revolution?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Do you know?
Karl Marx.
Karl Marx? That's old Major.
Miss, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Who does Snowball represent in the Russian Revolution?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Leon Trotsky.
Thank you. We just learned about him today. Are you guys paying attention to these presentations? You're supposed to be learning from them. You realize you're writing an essay on this book, right? Pay attention. Snowball represents Leon Trotsky. Snowball is the one that had the brilliant ideas and the brilliant speeches. He was the real person who should have taken over Russia. If Trotsky had taken over Russia, the whole history would have been different. It wouldn't have, you wouldn't have had Joseph Stalin. You wouldn't have had 20 million people murdered. You wouldn't have had a dictatorship. So Snowball with his brilliant speeches. And Napoleon, how did he attempt to get people's support? Maya Career.
With fear and intimidation.
How did he create fear and intimidation?
I don't know.
You just wrote that down. He doesn't use fear yet. Not yet. Guys, I think you need to put more effort into these questions. Napoleon is better at canvassing support for himself in between times. So not when everyone is assembled at the meeting, but he goes around in between times. He also uses the sheep and, who can't think for themselves. During Snowball's speeches, when Snowball is speaking, the sheep will interrupt him with their slogan, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Number 4, what idea did Snowball want to put into effect and why? And you better know this. Harsimran.
Snowball wanted a windmill to be built on the farm. This was so there would be less work, and the electricity could help operate threshing machines, plows, harrows, rollers, reapers, and electric heaters.
Very good. To make their lives easier, to make their lives better. This is Leon Trotsky, who had all these ideas for Russia to make life better for the Russian people. Okay. Also, Leon Trotsky wanted industrialization. So everything on the farm would be easier. Snowball conjured up pictures of fantastic machines, which would do their work for them while they grazed at their ease in the fields or improved their minds with reading and conversation. And this represents Trotsky's plans for all-out industrialization versus agriculture, okay? So, Trotsky wanted to bring technology to Russia. He wanted to modernize Russia. He had the good ideas for Russia. How did Snowball and Napoleon disagree over the defense of the farm? Gian?
Napoleon said the animals should learn how to use firearms, and Snowball wanted to send out more pigeons so then they could tell other animals and other farms about the rebellion.
Yes, spread the rebellion to other farms. Okay, good. So the one argued that if they could not defend themselves, they were bound to be conquered. That was Napoleon. The other argued that if rebellions happened everywhere, they would have no need to defend themselves. That was Snowball. And this represents, again, the opposing views of Stalin and Trotsky. Okay? Trotsky wanted to spread the revolution to other countries, whereas Stalin believed it was more important to focus on Russia only. How does Napoleon defeat Snowball? Ozazi?
I put down that the dogs he trained chased him out of the meet.
Chased him out of what?
Where all out of the farm. Like they chased him out.
Okay. Do you guys remember those dogs? Where do those dogs come from? Alan. Anyone? Harsiman, was that you? Yes, from yes. Remember the dogs that he took that were never heard of again? Those were the dogs when he took the puppies and he raised them and trained them to be basically his bodyguards, his army, to instill fear and to chase Snowball off the farm. And this is comparable to Trotsky being exiled, right? When Stalin took over, he exiled Trotsky so that he would run unopposed. And while Trotsky was killed by a Spanish assassin, as Sudharsan and Alan told us, the hit was ordered by Stalin. Stalin is the one who had him executed in Mexico with an ice pick in the head. What changes does Napoleon immediately announce? These are important changes. Maya Rambali?
Napoleon announces that there will be no windmill built and Sunday meetings would be no more. And the animals would only gather to raise the flag and to sing Old Beast of England on Sunday.
Okay, there would be no more meetings. That's very important. But very importantly, he said that from now on, all questions relating to the working of the farm would be settled by a special committee of pigs, right? Presided over by himself. These pigs would meet in private, and afterwards, they would communicate their decisions to the others. So as you can see, this is no longer a democratic process. This is no longer a free exchange of ideas. The farm is becoming a dictatorship presided over by the pigs and by Napoleon, who are the ones making all the decisions. The animals would still assemble on Sunday mornings to salute the flag, sing Beasts of England, and receive their orders for the week, but there would be no more debates. What contradictions were evident in the change? Samir?
It was obvious that Napoleon thought of Snowball as a clown and disagreed with all his previous ideas, so he basically changed them.
Okay, what else? What other contradictions are evident? Mehdi?
That Napoleon is the new leader of the farm.
Yes, very good. Okay. He is the leader of the farm. Okay. This is a contradiction because in socialism or Marxism, the people elect the leader. The people own the government. This is a contradiction because Napoleon was never elected. Just like Joseph Stalin was never elected. Okay, the people didn't get to decide between Trotsky and Stalin. Stalin pushed Trotsky out. He exiled him and instituted himself as leader. Just like Napoleon has Trotsky exiled from the farm and makes himself leader. He was never voted as leader. The people had no say, or the animals had no say. This is a contradiction to Marxism. This is a contradiction to animalism. We also see inequality. This is a contradiction. It's supposed to be that all animals are equal, but we see that the pigs have all the say. The animals simply obey the orders, okay? So this is a contradiction to the principles of animalism. Obviously, the use of the dogs to ensure that the orders are being carried out is a contradiction. This is obviously the establishment of a dictatorship when you are using fear to get your people or your animals to obey your orders. Did I give you some definitions to do? Is that a question? Are there any more questions for this chapter? That was
No.
it? Okay. Because on my original questions, I had some definitions for you. Okay, any questions about that chapter? Okay, a little more effort, guys, in answering these questions. Okay? Remember, you're writing an essay on this book. All right, and now let's move along to our next presentation by Tasia and Kian, also on Leon Trotsky.
All right. Is it showing?
Yeah.
All right, cool. We can start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky, born Lev Davidovich Bronstein, is a Russian revolutionary, political theorist, and politician, and a leader in Russia's October Revolution in 1917. Trotsky identified as an orthodox Marxist and a Bolshevik Leninist as he fought alongside Vladimir Lenin, a Russian communist revolutionary and leader of the Bolsheviks, to defeat forces that were against the Bolshevik Party. And Trotsky eventually lost to Stalin in 1940.
Trotsky contributed to the South Russian Workers' Union.
A little louder, Tasia.
Trotsky contributed to the South Russian Workers' Union with organizing plans in Mykolaiv in early 1897. He wrote and printed leaflets and proclamations, distributed revolutionary pamphlets, and popularized socialist ideas among industrial workers and revolutionary students. After becoming the commissar of the Army and Navy, Lenin ordered the formation of the Red Army and appointed Leon Trotsky its leader. The Red Army recruited able-bodied generals and masses of loyal conscripts. After the White Army surrendered, Trotsky was elected a member of the Communist Central Committee. The Bolsheviks finally won the Civil War in 1920. He was placed in a position right next to Vladimir Lenin.
In 1898, at the age of 22, Trotsky was traveling from his hometown of Yanovka to the town of Nikolaev. He carried a briefcase full of illegal manuscripts that identified him as a member of the Communist Party, which was illegal in 1898. Trotsky and about 200 of his colleagues were arrested. Among those colleagues was Alexandra Sokolovskaya, a fellow Russian Marxist revolutionary. Trotsky and Sokolovskaya were bound by their passion for work, and in 1899 they got married. Shortly after their wedding, they were exiled to Siberia, where they had two daughters, Nina and Zenaida. After Trotsky escaped, his wife continued to like her life in exile until she was given freedom. The daughters were raised by their grandparents and later died in their 20s. Nina died from tuberculosis and Zenaida died of suicide. After his escape, he married once more. He met his second wife, Natalia Sedova, in Paris, 1902. She had been a participant in the Iskra group. He had rented a room for her at 12 francs a month after his arrival in Paris. The two worked together and their marriage lasted his whole life. Although Trotsky had an affair, they ended up having two sons together, Lev and Sergei. After facing arrests and exiles together, she followed him to Mexico, where they sought political asylum from his rival Joseph Stalin's regime. His legacy lives on as he was the most brilliant intellect brought to prominence by the Russian Revolution.
Trotsky became involved in revolutionary activities in 1896 after moving to Nikolaev. At first a revolutionary populist, he was later introduced to Marxism and gradually shifted towards it. Instead of pursuing a mathematics degree, he helped organize the South Russian Workers' Union in Nikolaev in early 1897. In January 1898, Trotsky and about 200 members of the union were arrested. Trotsky spent 2 years in prison awaiting trial. 2 months after his arrest and imprisonment, the first Congress was held of the newly formed Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. From there on, Trotsky associated himself with that party. While in prison, he married Alexandria Sokolovskaya and studied philosophy. In 1900, he was sentenced to 4 years in Siberia, where his first two daughters, Nina and Zenaida, were born. While in Siberia, Trotsky became aware of disagreements within the party. Social Democrats, known as economists, were arguing that the party should concentrate on helping industrial workers improve their lot in life, but others argued that the disciplined revolutionary party was essential and overthrowing the monarchy was more important. The latter opinion was led by a London-based newspaper called Iskra, which Trotsky sided with quickly.
After finding who should take Lenin's place after his death, Stalin eventually wins the position. Trotsky was then banished and exiled under Stalin's order. Trotsky was sent to Turkey, where he then lived for 4 years. In 1935, he moved to Norway, then was forced to live in Mexico in 1936. He chose to represent and lead an anti-Stalinist party abroad in Mexico. In May 1940, a group of men armed with machine guns were sent to kill Trotsky in his own home, but they failed. Ramon Mercader, a loyal member under Stalin's party, kills Leon Trotsky with an ice pick to the head. Yet the Soviet government claims to not have to do anything with his murder. We also have a video, but Sudarshan and Sudarshan's group already played the video before, so I don't know if you want to replay it.
Same?
Yeah, it's the same one. It's the same one.
It's the same one? Okay.
Yeah.
Try.
All right.
But I think it is.
Wait, do I play it, miss?
No, not if we already watched it.
All right. That's it.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to show you a video, if it works, on Joseph Stalin, since the last video didn't work. Okay. So here we go. Let's see if it works. So there was all that animosity between Stalin and Trotsky. And, unfortunately, Stalin is the one who won and was able to push Trotsky out and have him exiled. And
Marxist revolutionary Leon Trotsky was born Lev Davidovich
Hold on a second.
on November 7, 1879 in the
Let
Ukraine
me just go stop
to
that.
prosperous Jewish farmer parents. As a young man, Trotsky spread the ideals of socialism and tried to unionize Russian workers.
There was fairly widespread support for change, and he was inspired by socialist message. He was sort of taking measures to over.
So this power struggle between Trotsky and Stalin unfortunately ended with Stalin winning, and he exiled Trotsky and took over Russia. If Trotsky had won leadership of Russia, then the entire history of that country could have been very different, because Trotsky wanted the best for Russia. He was not insane the way Joseph Stalin was. He was not a murderer. It wouldn't have ended in the execution of over 20 million people. 20 million people that we know of. That's only people who were documented, okay, who were reported. So imagine how many there really were, and he is one of the greatest mass murderers of the 20th century. He surpasses Hitler. Okay, right now I want you guys to, on camera, read chapter 6 and answer the study questions. Oh, and the groups that presented today. So I will see cohort A in class on Monday. So those of you who presented today, you are to bring your works cited to class, okay?